To wrap things up tonight, I'm bringing something to the table that I've been thinking about for a long time now. I just want to first put out a disclaimer. What I'm about to talk about may not even apply to you. You may not be a point in your life where this is even applicable. So if you find this topic not to your liking, then I won't be offended if you just skip ahead on this one for our audio listeners out there. But uh, I've been watching our community over the years now, and I've seen some members come and go, which, if it's not your thing, it's not your crowd, I get it. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Take care of yourself. But it's the longtime members that suddenly go dark, that seem to disconnect from all Discord servers that always has me thinking, I wonder what's going on in their life right now. And sometimes I'll reach out. Hey man, everything okay? You doing all right? Sometimes I'll find out that they were spending too much time in the Discords or gaming, and their spouses were getting a little jealous of their time, or maybe something else was going on in their relationships. Maybe something was on the fritz. Hey, it's not my business. And that's usually as far as I'll go, trying to reach out to old friends that we talk to every day or used to. So whenever I'm talking to members in this situation, it always brings me back to all the mistakes I made when I was just getting into gaming as an adult in a relationship. And man, I have made a lot of mistakes. As I have recently celebrated my 32nd year of marriage to my wonderful and, again, very patient wife, I thought I would share some tips concerning relationships in gaming or whatever you're into online. Kingsley, keep your mind out of the gutter, please, here. And more importantly, how you can avoid my dumb mistakes and navigate this hobby we love that many don't appreciate, or like Kingsley said, don't even understand at all why we even play games. Those first couple of years of marriage, or even moving in together with the intent of marriage or something more, everything's great. She sneezes, you say, bless you. You hold the door for her everywhere, and you can really do no wrong. Fast forward 5 to 10 years down the road, and what used to be fresh and new is now old and routine. Add kids to the equation, and now both of you are working 2 jobs. Your career and then daycare and parenting responsibilities when you get home. Add a little money woes or sudden changes in the job situation or anything in life that changes. It can just spin everything out of control. I've been there. I'm not bullshitting you. I've been there. And I'm not just saying that as a cliche. I've encountered everything I just mentioned in that sentence. So, I can hear you guys saying, how was your relationship able to hold up all those years going through all that stuff? My answer is 20% of it is probably just dumb luck. Luck that we were both mature enough at our young age back then, and not giving up on the relationship. I was 24 and she was 19 when we got married, by the way. I was very young. The remaining 80% is what I want to talk to you guys about tonight. As we get comfortable and into our routines of marriage, raising kids, and everything else that comes with it, we tend to take each other for granted. We also neglect our need for personal growth. And finally, we ignore the need for continuous effort to maintain your relationship and keep it vibrant. So here are some signs that you may be headed in the wrong direction for a long and lasting relationship. And this applies to spouses, life partners, girlfriend, boyfriend, or even if you're going to get into a relationship down the road. The first sign, taking each other for granted. This is big. As you begin to feel comfortable in a relationship, you can also feel secure. And because of that, we tend to get a little complacent in our relationships. It's a double-edged sword. Partners begin to assume that their spouse, and I'm going to use that term going forward because that's how it applies to me, but apply it to whatever your situation is. But you begin to assume that your spouse will always be there, which can result in a lack of effort to show appreciation. This lack of appreciation begins to create feelings of neglect and undervalue, which breeds resentment. Man, I know my wife resented me on many things early in our marriage. So circumvent this. Do what we do every day. We both practice daily gratitude. I'll give you an example. My wife and I went out to get our haircuts this week for that party I just talked about that we just came back from. And then we went and get some dinner afterwards, right? When we got home to walk the dogs like we always do every night, I said aloud, hey, babe, thanks for paying for the haircuts tonight. And she immediately responded and said, thank you for covering dinner tonight. The result, we both felt appreciated and not resentful the next morning, saying things like, he never appreciates that I pay for the haircuts. That's expensive for two people, You get what I'm putting down? It may seem ridiculous early in a relationship that you have to say thank you or hold the door for her whenever going, but I'm telling you, it adds up over time. I have to admit where I fall short on this. I never say bless you when anybody sneezes. I just was never raised to say bless you. So when she'll sneeze like 3 or 4 times in a row, you won't hear anything from me. I'll just say, hey, you all right? So I got some work to do in that area as well, as far as appreciation. Oh, but wait, I got to show you guys something. And this is real important. Do this every week. This is a little relationship hack you can steal from me. You want to let your partner know you're thinking about them or you're not taking them for granted? Leave little notes. I know this isn't high school anymore, but try this, especially if you don't verbally show affection much. I'm going to show you a picture here real quick.
While you're saying this is reminding me to buy a last minute gift I was going to buy for my wife.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Luckily, all mine are both.
All right.
I mean, this was definitely a last minute, but I was going to do it earlier today. And just what you said about the notes, it reminded me of something.
This is the inside of my cabinet. I look at this cabinet every morning. There's nothing on there that can incriminate me. You notice,
Hurry, screenshot it.
you notice what I have here on my cabinet door. This is my cabinet door. This is where I take all my vitamins, and right below it is my coffee station.
Those old people pills.
Yeah, all the old people pills, exactly.
Digestive advantages.
Digestive advantages, yep. Because I have I have diverticulosis, so I have to take this stuff. It keeps things at bay. This is a picture of my cabinet. But I want to show you.
Look at the hair. The man had hair.
I want to show you this.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, the man had hair.
This is a picture of my wife's cabinet. This is the cabinet that she looks in every morning. And I didn't put those notes there. She did. I have a little thing I do every few weeks where I'll hide little Post-it notes somewhere in her school bags where I know she'll eventually find it. She can be having the roughest day and find that little Post-it note in her bag. This is the one I left in the car. This is one that she saw in her office. I put on a bag of something she was bringing to the office. This is on her sunglass case. I tried some watermelon candy that was very, very hot. I realized really quick, this is not my kind of candy. And I gave it to her because she knows a lot of Latino kids at school that love this kind of stuff. So I gave it to her to bring to school she can use it for whatever she wants. You gotta bribe kids when you're teaching. But little notes like this, they take maybe 30 seconds, a minute to write out. But it can instantly snap her out of any funk she's having at work. Whenever she finds my notes, she'll take a pic of it and text it to me. These are some of the examples I'm showing you of the pics that she texted me where she found my little notes. And when I showed you my kitchen cabinet door, every morning it reminds me as well. If you look at this cabinet right, come on, I got it on a slideshow here. Right? That's her cabinet. This is my cabinet. When I got 300 subscribers on my YouTube channel, she wrote me a little note. Congrats to 300 subscribers on my YouTube channel. That's just great stuff. But they take 30 seconds to make, and it can really keep things fresh in your relationship. It may not be you, but I'm telling you, try it out and see. You might be asking what the fancy messages mean. At some point years ago, one of us wrote the word fancy in one of our notes, and now it's just our thing. I can't even remember exactly the exact date we started writing fancy on our notes, but now it's our thing that only we know. It has like an inside meaning. So go to Amazon, pick up a big pack of Post-it notes, and get started. All right, I'm off my podium there. The next sign, you're heading down the wrong road in your relationship. The lack of physical intimacy. Now, Grandpa's going to talk about sex now. Time to go. Cringe.
Everyone,
Hold
close
on.
your-
Get your damn head out of the gutter, please. What I'm talking about here is physical, yes, but it doesn't always mean sex, okay? If there's one thing I can get across to all of you in relationships out there, this is huge. As human beings, we all crave touch and physical intimacy. You ever talk to a slick salesperson and they touch you on the shoulder to get your attention or to emphasize a point in their sales spiel? That's not by accident. It's a trained sales tactic. I'm not really a touchy-feely kind of guy when it comes to strangers, but it still works on me. So what the hell does this have to do with relationships? I'll tell you, if you want any relationship to last, you got to have this. It's a vital component of marriage. Whenever couples rarely hug or kiss or are physically close, their emotional connection slowly erodes away, and with it, usually the marriage. I mean, I bet this is one of the big reasons people cheat in relationships. It's because the partner isn't getting the physical intimacy at home or is taken for granted. Both can push them to cheat. If I didn't kiss my wife goodbye every morning, correct that, she kisses me every morning before she goes to work because I'm still passed out in bed. Or if I don't give my wife a nice bear hug when she gets home from a hectic day at school and she didn't reciprocate, we would both feel pretty distant and isolated from each other. Man, you two are facing all kinds of shit that life throws at you. You got to keep that physical connection. And yes, that means sex too. Hope my daughter's not in here. Even if you have to schedule it every week, if you don't have that emotional connection, why are you even together? All right, I won't go down that road any further, as I'm sure most of you are already grossed out already, but simple things like holding hands, a warm hug, or even just a pat on the back will boost that feeling of closeness and security. It is huge in our marriage. We don't forget ever to do it every day. All right, number 3, that you might be heading down the wrong path in your relationship. Neglecting your personal appearance. I know this seems petty, right? But hear me out. When couples become complacent and feel like their partners are never going to leave them, they begin to stop making the effort to look nice for each other. When this happens, your partner may start to feel less attraction to you, and self-esteem can suffer as they may feel unappreciated or even taken for granted that you don't take the time to look good for them. It's a subtle one, but it will accumulate in time. And if your partner may begin to feel resentment towards you, guys, make the effort to groom your damn self. Take a shower. Put deodorant on. When you're going out together, maybe don't wear that sweatshirt with pizza stains on it. I know it's comfortable, but how are you supposed to have any physical intimacy when she doesn't even want to be around that horrible breath? Do better, guys. Do better. Same goes for you women out there. Men are very visual, and how you put yourself together matters to us, believe me. If you're wearing those sweats to the grocery store and you look like you just hopped out of bed with that hair, we're going to notice. And I'm not being sexist here. It works both ways. If we don't look like that, like we got it together, and your mate isn't feeling your vibe, I guarantee you they will look at other men and women who do. I'm just saying. I got to throw this out there as well. Being put together also means health, eating better, moving a little, things like that. This is on my list of things to work on, as I love candy, and it's tough to work out when you have a job that's already pretty physical. So I'm in the same boat as some of you out there when it comes to health. Number 4, the sign that you may be heading around the wrong direction. Living separate lives. Now, this is a 2-parter for me. It kind of has double meaning. What I mean when I say living separate lives is that no matter how hectic your life is, whether you have a crazy job or you got kiddos running around destroying your house and your privacy, if you have any chance of making it far in a relationship, you have to make time to do stuff together. I'll say it again. You have to make time to do stuff together. This is not a debate. If you two have your own things that you do in your life, whether it's your hobby, like gaming, work, or whatever you need or desire to do in your life, if you don't carve out time to do something together, you're going to fail. You will live separate lives and it'll feel like you two are just roommates in a marriage or partnership. What happens to roommates over time? They leave. Don't have a roommate. Have a partner that shares their life with you. Throughout the week, I sometimes see my wife just 3 hours a day. She leaves for work before I'm up. She works a 12-hour day. Sometimes she doesn't get home till 6:30 at night. The only time I see her on some days is between the hours of 7 and 10 p.m. Then she's off to bed and the cycle repeats itself. Keep in mind, this isn't always the norm for us, but this is sometimes happens on her busy times when she's teaching and she's a testing administrator. So she gives testing and stuff. She's really busy. But how we approach this situation in our life is that we make sure we spend 100% of our time distraction free. That means no scrolling on your phone while at a dinner. I did this once and my wife literally got up and walked out of the restaurant. I'm not kidding. It's a nice restaurant too. She realized a long time ago that we only have a few hours together and she wants my full attention during those hours. So don't fuck it up. Put the phone down and hide the screen. You look at your phone all day, you can't put it away for a couple hours? Come on, man. My wife and I also share a hobby together. We both love movie watching. So that's why I have my AMC Stubbs A-List membership. We go see a movie nearly every week. Sometimes she picks it and sometimes we both pick it. And if it's a Marvel movie, we pick something else to watch. And that's what Disney Plus is for, right? My point is we both share something that we both love to do together. I have a really hard time watching a movie in a theater without her. It just feels like something's missing. We've tried Chinese cooking classes, Texas two-step dancing lessons where the instructor told us to never come back. Family bowling league. She's played paintball. She's played field paintball with me and many other activities but we always come back to movie watching. Find your joint activity you love. Hell, we consider going to the supermarket part of our together time as well. So don't think it's about money. It's not. Hike a local trail on the weekend together. Go grab a burger, even if it's grocery shopping. It's not sexy, but you'd be surprised how much you both will talk and catch up on your week from picking up some sour cream for that potato night. One thing we both try to do all the time is walk our dogs together. What's great about an outdoor walk is that there are no electronic devices vying for your attention. And man, we talk about a lot of things while on a simple walk around our neighborhood. You got to try it. It's free. Now, the second meaning from living separate lives. When we've been together as long as we've been, 35 years in total, we dated 3 years before we tied the knot. It's important that you set aside time for yourself. I know I just said to make time for each other, but it's just as important to set aside time for yourself. And for me, it's gaming, man. I love to dive in and grind out some bounties, hop in some Crucible for a few hours with the community, or even plan, a few hours to jump into a raid, which reminds me, you need to check out our new OWL activity bot in our Discord. It's easy to plan. Shameless plug, but it is. It's a really great bot. I'm usually not available to play anything until my wife goes to bed. Remember that weekly schedule of 7 to 10? From 7 to 10, my attention is all on my wife. But after that, it's my time, baby, to do whatever I want. It's important to carve out personal time and create a hobby that you love, because if all you do is hover over your partner all the time, you both are going to go nuts. Your partner also needs their personal time and space. So if you don't allow them to have it as well, they're going to feel suffocated and the relationship's not going to last. All right, I said a lot tonight, but I have a few quick hit tips here also that I just want to make sure I get out, and then you guys can comment on this. I know it's a lot. Number one, don't hide money matters. Learn to use a household budget. Someone smart once told me that if you don't know where your money goes, then how the hell are you supposed to get ahead financially? Have a couples meeting and make a plan. This was one of my weak points early in our marriage. Don't make my mistake. Number two, don't get set in your roles. Now, some of you have heard of my past episodes. I made a deal with my wife that if she picks up the dog crap when we walk them, then I'll be the dishwasher and she'll wake up to a clean kitchen every morning. But one night I was up late and I forgot to clean the dishes in the kitchen. But my beautiful wife cleaned it up for me when she woke up the next morning. She didn't have to that. She didn't have to do it. And she could have harped on me for failing my duties. She didn't say a word. And I felt like she appreciated me and didn't just see me as some dishwasher to clean up her kitchen every day. Do the same for your partner. Surprise him or her by just doing something around the house that you normally aren't tasked with. I'm telling you, guys, you can score some major points here. Number 3, you got to communicate. I realize that my wife and I are both very adept at passive-aggressive strategies, and when we have a misunderstanding, she will give me the silent treatment like no other person will. I do the same sometimes as well, but let's say I'm 2 wins in and about 2,800 losses. So take that how you will. The message here is if you don't like how things are going down or you feel like you've been slighted, you got to speak up. Otherwise, you're just going to resent them, and those deep down feelings will tear you apart over time as well. You both should feel that come what may in life, that you both are on the same team dealing with it. And if you feel something is not in balance, then you need to say something. And I'll admit, this is probably my weakest character flaw in our marriage, is I tend to fall into 2 categories. I'm either the strong silent type that doesn't share my feelings, or I'm a blabbering drama queen. So it depends on the situation. But the one thing I can tell you is in the end, we both make amends and we learn from the experience. You young couples out there that may think you know everything about your partner, I guarantee you're just getting started. And as I've gotten older, I've discovered little things that weren't easily apparent about my wife. And now I realize, and it just took me time to figure it out. It's actually the little things that make me love her even more, to be honest. Now, I got to share one more thing. As I mentioned, we both are passive-aggressive types, and whenever we get into a fight, we tend to go radio silent. But eventually, some alone time can put things in perspective. I want to show you a picture of something here. This is a note that my wife left on my bathroom mirror one morning. We were both having I think we had about a 2-day standoff on this one. She's being facetious about the attorney part, but the note says, "Thank you for your correspondence. I will consult with my attorneys to ensure that your apology was robust enough. I will inform you of the results this evening. Until then, love you." If you're not a big vocal person like I am, or like my wife is, notes are great for that too. So if they work for us, they might work for you guys as well. So there you go. I know I probably overshared a ton tonight, but as we approach the holidays and you're going to be around family and especially your partner more than normal, it might be a good time to try some of these things out that I mentioned. Now, also keep in mind that it takes 2 to make a relationship work. And if you're making the effort and your partner's not feeling it, then you need to go back to my last step. It's time to talk it out. My come to Jesus meeting with my wife when I was having marriage issues with my game addiction was a wake-up call for me. And if we didn't have that painful conversation, I don't know if I'd still be married today. This may not work for everyone, but it certainly has been working for the 32 years I've been doing it. And my hope is that any one piece of this advice that I mentioned tonight will make the difference for you guys as well. So I know that was a long diatribe, guys, but I know Kingsley been married 9 years, and Gator, you've been married 23 years, I think you said. So what, you guys have anything you want to add to that? I know it can get personal, so if you don't want to add anything, I understand, but that was my topic that I've been wanting to get off my chest.
I don't know who wants to go first. I don't care.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kingsley.
I took a drink.
Yeah. So one thing, and you can ignore these questions, Todd, like you do not have to answer them at all, but I'm just kind of curious, anything you are willing to talk about, because you didn't really get in, and I know it's personal and maybe you didn't want to, but
Yep.
I don't want to know like details, but like what was going on, if you're willing to talk about, with the video game addiction? Were you,
Yeah.
the
Good point.
obvious thing is spending too much time, but the details matter a little bit. Was
Yeah.
it like taken away from your work where you weren't making as much money? Or was it just like things like you weren't spending enough time with your wife, or all the above? Or give some personal things if you want to. I mean,
No,
I'm just curious to get context.
That's actually a great question because I can probably help people as far as the circumstances. 2 things. Yes, I was not working as much as I should have. I know I had guys doing the work, but there was areas where I failed as well, and it suffered financially. I suffered financially for it because I was I was
Gotcha.
addicted to Rock Band. I'd be playing Rock Band in the middle of the daytime. Well, I should be out working my ass off. But the main thing was that 7 to 10 every day. I know it was a lot longer back then. She doesn't work as crazy as she does now, but um, I was in the office 24/7, it seemed. Like I never left. And my kids would be, where's dad? Oh yeah, dad's in the office. Don't bug him. He's gaming right now. I walked
Yeah.
in there and he about bit my head off. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And my wife just had enough one night. She said, "You know what?" She stayed up and when I was done gaming for the night and I walked in to go to bed, we had that come to Jesus meeting and she was in tears. We were both in tears. Just thinking about it right now gets me upset that I put her through that. So that was the
Yeah.
circumstances behind my
Yeah.
gaming addiction and what kind of got me eventually. It didn't happen overnight, but eventually I started turning things around.
No,
So yeah.
thank you for sharing.
Yeah, man.
And again, whatever you wanted to or not wanted to talk about, it
No, I mean,
helps.
no, I think that's pertinent
I
to
think
the
it helps others
conversation.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's all very interesting. I am married for 9 years. I did have a previous marriage,
Mhm.
and some of these things make a lot of sense. For me, there was talk from my ex's side about video game addiction, but when it was all said and done, there wasn't any video game addiction. I think she was just making it as like one of her reasonings that she wasn't happy with me.
Yeah.
She actually called for the divorce, and I didn't want it. But when it was all said and done and we separated, it was like a breath of weight off my shoulder. I'm like, "Oh, this was actually the right move." I did not think that until the actual separation happened, but when it did, it was the right thing. I won't go into all the details. It really is good for people to think about. Well, like when I said things earlier, you know, ways you can know you are addicted is if there's like three things, and it doesn't have to be all three, but like you feel like you're spending too much time, someone else feels like you're spending too much time, meaning like you're not getting things done that you need to or want to get done, and even like losing money, right?
Yeah.
And it's worth, if you're not even sure, talking to a therapist, people that actually know this, because a lot of times video game addiction is more of a thing than people talk it up to be. I'm not saying you weren't, Todd, but a
Yeah.
lot of times people, friends and family that don't understand video games are like, oh, they're addicted to video games. And that means nothing. They're not addicted to video games. It just means you don't like video games. You see someone playing it a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I'm not trying to make any points here. It's just this is all stuff I'm like making
Yeah.
in my mind. But it even was said to me a little bit. So I have definitely some remembrances of that fake issue. And I really appreciate what you said, Todd, because it
Yeah.
sounded like yours was a little more realistic on, yeah, you had some issues with that or whatever.
And I was totally
That's
blind to it. I
mhm.
I figured she was busy doing her thing. I'm busy doing my thing, right? But what was
Yeah.
really happening is I was spending no time with my wife and she was
Yeah.
raising our kids. And this was when they were really, really young, but
And
um
especially if they wanna spend time with you, right? It's one
yeah,
thing if the other person doesn't wanna
yeah,
spend time with you, but if they do, that is the issue, and that's where it was awesome you were able to see that of it. Well, she talked to you about it,
yeah.
and then you were able to see it,
I,
and
I
yeah.
must emphasize it did not happen overnight. There was a lot of denial. That's usually
Mhm.
part of addiction is denial, right?
Sure. Sure.
I'm not spending enough time. I'm doing fine. I see the kids every day, right? I see the kids
Mhm.
every day. I kiss my wife goodnight. I kiss my wife before she goes to work in the morning. I'm doing the right things. But then when you start to really think about it, and it was that argument that we had where she was in tears, where it really made me start to process it. And that's when I
Mhm.
realized that
Yeah.
I had a problem.
Yeah, so, yeah, I
Mm.
mean, some other really interesting things that I think can be good for people to learn is that's awesome that you were able to marry young and you've been together this long. Generally, my point of view is I'm not saying that can't work, and I'm not saying don't marry young, but my advice is it can be prudent at times if you're young and if you're considering getting married to maybe pump the brakes a little bit, really get to know the person. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be marrying them, but these things are going to come up at some point. So either you wait it out and get married later and work on your life, or you're going to go through these things with your spouse. So you better make sure it's a
Yeah.
spouse you're willing to go through these things with, you know?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is if you get married young, you're going to have to go through these trials and phases with the person you marry.
And nothing's guaranteed either. And nothing's guaranteed. I
Exactly.
mean, I could be on the rocks tomorrow. Nothing's guaranteed in life, but I'm just saying these are tried and true things that I've used in the
Yeah.
past that only strengthen the marriage over time.
I like what you said about one thing that's very common for people to do, especially when they are first together, and especially if you get married young, is spending too much time together. Now, that's
Yes,
not bad at face value,
sure.
but the problem is people think every minute of the day you're supposed to be doing things, you're supposed to be with the other person. And it's an easy way of thinking when you're young, right? You see like the teens in love or the early 20s are like,
Hmm.
oh, I want to spend my whole life, every minute of the waking day with them, but that's not a realistic point of view. And you will learn that if you get married young. That I love the other advice you said. I'm not saying this to say not spending a lot of time with them, but the people that are not autonomous at all will have issues if they think they can't have any alone time doing their own projects. And young kids eventually learn that. So that is really good advice that you gave is um you should be thinking both ways. You should be thinking,
Yeah.
am I spending enough time with my spouse? But also, this sounds ironic, but am I spending enough time by myself doing the things that I need to do for personal development?
Yeah,
So,
it's a
yeah,
double-edged sword. And
yeah,
it goes back to balance, right?
right,
You know your roles in the marriage, and
yeah,
and I'm just telling you that uh, anyone who doesn't have their own thing that they're doing to improve in life in their relationship, you're going to get resentful. So
mhm,
you have to set aside time and be able to share and enjoy your hobby. And at the same time, and for me, what fixed it for me is I just have everything scheduled. When everyone wants to do a raid with me, I'm like, I can do it at 10,
mhm,
not at 9:30, not at 9:25. 10 o'clock is when I'm available to play. And I've set that ground rule in our house. And on the weekend, it's hit or miss. If she's out shopping with my daughter, then okay, I got time to game now.
yeah,
And I love that she does things with my daughter and my son. And I love that stuff. And that's to the point where that is important to her in her life, is to share time with my daughter and go shopping. And, you put two women together going shopping, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but man, they can spend 2 hours, 3 hours in Target alone. And I'd be going nuts if I was there with them. So I avoid that because I know I'm not going to make them have a good time. I've tagged along before when they've gone shopping, and I'm like, all right, what else is on the list? That's how guys think,
mhm,
we're there to get this, 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 and this. And once we get it, we should be heading out the door, right? Oh no. No, they want to look at the new sweatpants that just came out. Or you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I'm not being sexist,
Oh, yeah.
guys. For the women out there, I'm not being sexist. I'm just saying this is my situation.
yeah. And then the last thing I that hit me is what we were talking about with uh I think what was the point you were making with like being friends or doing stuff together? My wife and I always joke that we're friends with benefits, and I know that sounds absurd, but we love that it works for us because we are literally best friends.
Yeah.
So we can continue to be you want to be friends with your spouse, you want to
Yep.
do things together because if you're never doing things together, even you would even do stuff with your friends together, even if you're busy, you're like, you try to see them once a month, once a year, whatever, right? Once a
Right.
week if you have bowling or whatever. But if you're not doing things as friends with your spouse ever, then are you truly friends, right? And you need to have that friendship
You
to
do.
have a good marriage. So we always joke that we're friends with benefits, but it works for
Yeah.
us. But yeah, those were my points on that. So
Yeah. And as you get married longer and longer, and I'm probably the one that's been married the longest here, probably in the Discord too. No, I think Maximo's been married about the same amount of time as I have, but you learn so much about your partner over time that you just know what they need time for in their life, and you know what the other person needs time for in their life, and you've worked out a compromise, because it's never one way or another, guys. If you're saying I'm all in to win, this is what I want to do with my life. Katie, bar the door. This, I don't give a shit what she thinks about. This is the way I want to do it. Then you got to meet her halfway. You got to meet her halfway. You got to make some sacrifices and some compromises and that's what a marriage is, right? You're a partnership. You are facing life together, good or bad, come what may. And when the shit hits the fan, you grab her hand and you work through it. So sorry.
Awesome.
you're
No, that's
good.
all for me. If
Yeah,
Chet wants to say
I
anything.
know I've talked
I
enough.
mean, I mean, there's not much else I can really add to it. I've been married for 23 years and gone through all of it. So,
Yeah, you're about 10 years. You're
yeah,
about 10 years behind me, Gator. When I
yeah,
met you,
you're old. We know.
maybe more, but yeah, I mean, I met your family and I met your family and your kids, and it reminds me of 10 years earlier for me. Um, you're, you have a boy and a girl just like I do, so we share a lot of
18 and
things there.
20. Yeah. So,
Yeah. So
no, I mean, like I said, everything you've gone over, I've experienced it.
yeah,
I've never had the gaming like problem. I mean, I played and everything, but like that, but I've learned over time now. The older I've gotten now, it's like, yeah, I'll just stay up here and watch a movie tonight instead of going downstairs.
yeah.
So,
How do you and you don't have to answer, but how do you guys work together as far as sharing time together? I mean, do you guys have an untold agreement in your marriage, or
Well, I definitely don't have that 7 to 10 thing you're talking
yeah,
about.
that's just on
Um,
the
that would
weekdays?
be too regimented for me. We
Yeah,
both, my wife and I, would not go for that. But if it
yeah,
works for you, great.
yeah,
Uh, it's a blend. It really is because we're both kind of on the more flexible side. So I feel like we'll both bring up ideas of things we want to do, and the other side tries to be accommodating to doing those things. And then we know that we trust each other enough now. If there's something the other person really doesn't want to do, and they're like, "I don't feel like doing that this time," and then usually it's
yeah,
not an issue. So,
yeah,
as far as like I would say if there's any like guaranteed amount of time we spend together, it's mostly just going to be like Sundays doing certain things. But even though there isn't other guaranteed times, if I look back, it's always several nights a week we're doing something together. So it's worked well for us.
yeah. And Corpse D mentioned something here. He goes, sometimes chores is where when the kids are young, that's your time together. I mean, I realize with young kids, it makes things so much more difficult, but you have to somehow set that time aside. If it means your mother-in-law or your sister or your whatever has to stop by and watch the kids for just a couple hours while you go to the grocery store, then so be it. I mean, that's personal time together though, it's not time that you're having to worry about kids. And I just, guys, I just see this happening in our community where I'll see guys that are vibrant in our community, and they're raiding all the time. And and you guys know, I probably have a couple of people I'm talking about, that just went dark and we never heard from them again. And usually it's 9 times out of 10, it's usually something to do with addiction or the marriage or both or relationships or something. And that's why I really wanted to just come out and say this, especially this time of year with the holidays and stuff. And I know this has probably a lot less to do with gaming than normal. And I know I've probably overshared here a lot, but I just had to be said. This
You
is
didn't
something
over. That was great.
this is something that's been bottling up. As I see members in our community, I can feel what they're going through because I went through all that. And I want to reach out and say, dude, here's what you need to do, but it's not my business. And if they don't ask for
Mm.
the help, then I'm not, it's not my place. So I figured here in a podcast where people will listen and either go, yeah, I'm not in a relationship. I don't care. Fast forward 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. That's your prerogative. But if you ever get into a relationship, keep these little tips in mind, because at least with me, they've worked wonders. So, and I don't have a perfect marriage. I certainly don't have a perfect marriage. There's times there's weeks, every week there's something probably that I messed up. And it's half the time I don't even know I messed up. So
And I also recommend people consider, even when there's not big problems,
yeah,
couples counseling. A lot of people may, oh, counselors are not the best or whatever, but
yeah.
if you find a good one, trust me, like there's been a couple times where my current wife and I have gone,
Hmm.
once at the very beginning and
Yeah,
once like a year ago, and they were both for like pretty preventative, like potentially we saw down the road it could be an issue type of thing, but and you should also go if you're having big issues, but if you want to try to
yeah,
get better, but it, it can be really helpful because you'd be surprised, even with all the good tips we're giving each other. both sides can be pretty wrong on a lot of things too. And it's not about who's wrong or right, but it's for us to learn better techniques to work with the other side. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good thing too. I highly recommend, just you can shake your head at me, but at least consider couples counseling.
We're not big counseling people, but I can see how having someone that's outside the relationship looking in can be much more objective. I could see how that
I
can
know
really,
it's
they're
not for
trained
everyone.
too.
Consider it for
Yeah.
everyone who like at least would consider it a little
Yeah.
bit. Not saying you need to be living your life right, but
That would have definitely helped me if I would have known to do that. So yeah, it's a good point, Kingsley. Yep. Good
it's
points.
like they also say when you're about to get married that couples counseling, you can also look at a way, again, preventative is the better way. Sometimes people just go to like 2 or 3 sessions and learn a couple techniques, but
Mhm.
there's so many good questions you should, especially if you're getting married young, that you should be asking your spouse things that people don't think about when they're young, but you learn over
Yeah.
time. Like, are you the type of person that if I change my mind on something down the road, religion, politics, big things, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Would you be the type of person that that'd be a deal breaker? These are
Good to
important
know.
things to ask as early on in the relationship as you can, so you kind of know,
Yeah.
and then you can work through it that way.
And
Yeah.
Corpse did have a point here. He said the ladies are doing it for us sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying that ladies are don't need it. We all, like I mentioned, we're all human beings. We need to have that intimacy with whoever we decide to have a relationship with. So it's important stuff. I mean, it sounds real basic, right? You'd be surprised how many people don't practice that stuff. And I've just incorporated into my life that I practice it every day, almost every day. So
Such a good topic.
yeah,
And it's a deep one
it is
and,
very deep. You,
personal. I appreciate everything you
everyone
said.
thought your topic was deep, Kingsley. I said, oh, they don't even
Oh,
know what's
you're
coming.
this